Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. Good afternoon and welcome to Breaking History. Sorry for the odd beginning. I'm your host, Gordon McCormick, aka the ghost of bass Patrick Henry. Today is November 19th, 2025. Matt is, I think, traveling. He was hoping to be back in time, but texted me late last night, early this morning, and said that he got caught up at one of the airports. He's traveling back from Russia. So we are going to listen to the speech that Trump's going to give right now, live. He's walking in right now at the U.S. Saudi Investment Forum. I think there's going to be a lot of signal here.
Al Saud, Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
All right, so I'm going to come on and do commentary, but I want to watch this whole thing and listen as we get back. Make this full screen.
Your Royal Highness, we now invite you to deliver your remarks. The floor is yours. سمو سيدي الكلمة لك.
فخامة الرئيس دونالد ترامب، حضور الكرام، يسعدنا نلتقي بكم اليوم في واشنطن بعد 6 أشهر من انعقاد منتدى الاستثمار السعودي الأمريكي في الرياض، الذي انعقد خلال زيارتكم فخامة الرئيس، حيث وضعنا الأسس لشراكة تقوم على النمو والتنويع الاقتصادي والابتكار، كما وقعنا وثيقة الشراكة الاقتصادية الاستراتيجية بين بلدينا في خطوة تاريخية لترسيخ التعاون الاقتصادي. واليوم يسرنا توقيع اتفاقيات ومشروعات استثمارية جديدة تتضمن قطاعات الدفاع والطاقة والذكاء الاصطناعي والمعادن النادرة والقطاع المالي.
We laid the foundations for partnership based on growth, economic diversification, and innovation, and we signed a strategic economic partnership document between our two countries. In a historic step to cement our economic cooperation, today we are delighted to sign investment agreements and projects that include sectors such as defense, energy, AI, rare minerals, and finance. This will contribute to generating huge job opportunities in our two countries and to economic growth. We contribute to strengthening our historical relations and developing investment tracks between our two countries in line with our ambitions. I invite you.
And it's great to be here today at the U.S. Saudi Investment Forum. Great group of people. The biggest, you got the biggest in the room. But some of the most talented, maybe most importantly, the word talent, successful and innovative business leaders anywhere on the planet. Whether you have come from near or far, we're delighted to have you invest right here in the hottest country anywhere in the world. Every leader is saying the United States we're the hottest country in the world. We're going to keep it that way too. But this has been, according to those that seem to say it, and I will say, I would never say a thing like that because I want to be very modest. I always want to be modest as I can. They say this has been the best 9 months that any president has ever had. I'd say that's pretty good, right? But we've had a great 9 months. Now we have to do it more than a few more times. We just have to keep it going. We'll keep it going. I want to thank my friend, a great gentleman, Crown Prince Mohammed of Saudi Arabia, for his bold leadership and deep commitment to the ties between our two countries. Thank you. Thank you. Great gentleman. Yesterday, we had a phenomenal visit at the White House celebrating the 80-year bond between the United States and Saudi Arabia. We ended with an unbelievable show last night in a room that was far too small, but the next time you're here, you'll have a much bigger room. It's going to be much bigger. I made more enemies last night by not. We had 119 people. That was a record for the room. So they've wanted for 150 years. They've been clamoring for a ballroom at the White House, and we're giving them one. We're giving them one plus, and it'll be something. But you'll be here. You'll be among the first, if not the first, if you'd like. You know, we'll work it out. But you had a lot of people that wanted to be there. They really would have witnessed something that was really incredible. The entertainment last night was incredible, including our great opera singer, but including the military. The talent and the military musically is also incredible. So it was great to be with you last night. I think it was something to behold. We officially designated the kingdom yesterday as the major non-NATO ally. That's a big deal. It's actually a very big deal. It's a great honor. That happens seldom, very seldom, if at all. So I just want to congratulate you on that. That's a sign of trust. We signed a historic strategic defense agreement yesterday also, and that's something that is likewise very rare, and it's a very honored company that you're in. And we're going to be selling Saudi Arabia some of the greatest military equipment ever built. We build the best military equipment in the world by far. That's why we do the most business, including nearly 300 American-made tanks is what you're buying, among many other things, the airplanes, and we're working on getting that approved very quickly. It's already approved, but don't worry. We have to go through a process. The process will take, Elon knows, the process will take about, would you say 24 hours? I think so. You're in good shape, very good shape. The partnership between our two nations is among the most consequential in the entire world, and together the Crown Prince and I are making an alliance stronger and more powerful than it's ever been before. We've had good relationships and frankly not good. You didn't have a good relationship with Barack Hussein Obama. You didn't have a good relationship with sleepy Joe Biden. But you had a great relationship with me, and now it's as good as it was, and probably even better if you think about it, because we took the dark cloud away from your country. It was called Iran and its nuclear capability, and we obliterated that very quickly and strongly and powerfully. But that was a real cloud over the whole Middle East, and now they want to make a deal. They want to make a deal. They want to see if they can work out a deal with us, and we'll be doing that probably. But that was a terrible cloud that you had to live with for a long time. 22 years they were thinking about doing that, the B-2s. That was even before the B-2s. Those B-2s, what machines they were, they flew in, they were undetectable, and they dropped their payload, and every single bomb hit its exact mark, which was a shaft going deep into the mountain. And every single one of them hit, and it was total obliteration. And then I was criticized by some of the fake news for saying the word obliteration was too strong, perhaps. They had no idea. Nobody saw it. 3 days later, when the Atomic Energy Commission went, they said it was total obliteration, beyond obliteration, they said. But they want to make a deal. We'll see what happens. This week, our countries also signed groundbreaking agreements on civil nuclear energy, critical minerals, and artificial intelligence. And I want to congratulate a lot of the great American leaders, business leaders that are in the room. And you'll do a great job for Saudi Arabia and for a lot of other people in the room that are buying your product, taking your product, and using your product. All of that is in addition to the $600 billion investment in the United States that Saudi Arabia announced during my unforgettable visit there last spring. Well, I said, could you try and get that up to $1 trillion? And yesterday, the Crown Prince announced that the number that they'll be investing in the United States is $1 trillion. So that's really an honor. And we just took a picture backstage with some of the great business leaders and some of the great people, friends of mine from your country, and beautiful picture. And while we were taking the picture, I said, could you make it 1.5 trillion? So he's got something to think about. I don't know. We'll get something. I think we'll get something, Scott, right? But many of you in the room are playing a key role in making these projects happen. And we're told that $270 billion in agreements and sales are being signed between dozens of companies. And that's just happening today, $270 billion. That's big stuff. So on behalf of the thousands of American workers who I care about most, I want to thank you for bringing all those jobs and all those great opportunities to America and bringing great wealth to America. We've become a very wealthy country. We have a couple of little things. We're waiting for a decision. We hope that's going to be good, but if it's not, we always find ways, we find ways, but we've done things that nobody thought were possible. And we're taking in trillions and trillions of dollars. Tariffs have been, frankly, the best thing that's ever happened to our country. They've always been used against us, and we never had people that were smart enough to use them in the opposite direction. But now you do, and we have taken in trillions of dollars, and it's been absolutely amazing. We're going to be doing a dividend to the people, low and middle income, moderate income people, of at least $2,000. In addition to that, we'll be paying down debt very substantially. It's the kind of money we're taking in. And really, countries that took advantage of us are no longer taking advantage of us. Friends, some of our friends treated us far worse than our enemies on trade anyway, and we've got that all straightened out. And everybody's happy. They respect us again. It's like one of those things. I think they like us better, and they actually respect us, and it works out much better for us, too. But I especially want to thank our numerous Saudi friends here today, including the ambassador to the United States, a friend of mine, Princess Rima. Thank you very much. Great job. Great representative you have. You sent a good representative. And many distinguished ministers and members of the cabinet, governor of the Public Investment Fund. Where's Yasser? Yasser's here someplace. Sometimes I see him dressed both ways. I don't know. It's cooler that way. I'd dress that way if I could. Yasser's terrific. He's a terrific man, actually. So thank you very much, Yasser. And Secretary Scott Bessent, who's been fantastic. Where's Scott? We're thinking about him for the Fed, but he wants no part of it. He likes being Secretary of the Treasury. I think we'll leave him. So let's cross your name off, right? Officially, right? Remember, you said that. I love the Fed job. To me, it's the easiest job in the world. You play golf for 28, 29 days, then you go and make a little speech, tell everybody, in the case of the current guy, the wrong information because he has no clue. But if you have good instincts, it's all based on instincts. I see they want to hire 3,000 economists, 3,000, to report to the Fed chairman. What are they going to do? Take all this information? 3,000 economists. That's why they're spending $4 billion on renovating a building that should have cost $25 million to do. They should have spent $25 million. They're building a basement into the Potomac River. I could have told them that's very tough to do and it doesn't work and it's very expensive. But they're up to $4 billion headed by this clown. But we have 3,000, think of it. They want to hire 3,000 economists. So they took a poll and they interviewed 71 people. And of the 71 people, 2 people got it right. 2 people. One was a great economist whose name I won't tell you because I don't like him personally, but he is good. And the other one that got it the most right was a man named President Donald J. Trump. Do you believe it? And I didn't have an economist. Well, I had Scott. But we got it right, didn't we? Huh? We got everything right. Doug Burgum, where's Doug? Will you please drill a little bit faster? Between him and I'll tell you, you and Chris was great on television, and he's setting records. They're setting records, but I'll never be satisfied. Drill, we got elected. Drill we must, I called it. Drill, baby, drill. Con Edison, a great utility from New York many years ago, they used to have it said, drill we must and dig we must. So when they were digging in a road, they'd have a sign, dig we must. Well, now we're putting those utilities to shame because I'm allowing all of those AI plants that are being built to build their own electric generating force, and they're building them like nobody's ever seen, and they're coming up with ideas and new contraptions like nobody's ever seen. And this way they can't blame me for not producing electric. I said, you produce it yourself. And actually they didn't believe I was saying that because nobody ever thought of a thing like that. They're building a massive plant. They were going to hook it up to a 200-year-old grid. And you know that wasn't going to work because there's no way of doing that. No way we could have done that. And I had the idea. This was my idea, approved by a couple of people. I said, why wouldn't that happen? They're building a plant for $50 billion. You know, if you build a shopping center for $50 million, it's okay. It's not a bad shopping center. 500 million, you're talking about top of the line. 50 billion. So when it was first explained, they're spending 50 billion. I said, no, you mean 50 million. No, sir. We mean 50 billion. And then I saw some of them that were the size of Manhattan. I said, they did mean 50 billion. And I said, well, what you're going to do is with that, how would you like to build your own electric generating plant? And they looked at me like I was crazy because something like that, they really didn't understand it. The smart guys, they didn't understand it. They said to me at the next meeting, sir, the biggest problem we have will be electricity. I said, you don't understand. I told you last week, you're going to build your own. I'm giving you approval to build your own plant, and you will be approved within a period of 2 to 3 weeks. It used to take 20 years prior to termination. In other words, you would wait 20 years and you wouldn't make it. You'd be voted down 5 to 4. I said, we're getting you approved in a 2-week, 3-week period. In fact, Lee Zeldin, one of the superstars of this administration, I said, Lee, if it's oil and gas, get them approved in 2 weeks. If it's nuclear, add another week. Because some are going nuclear and they're doing, be careful. They better be careful, but they are going to be careful. They're the greatest people in the world. So now they come back and they actually believed it. And now they're being approved rapidly. And we have things being built, the likes of which nobody's ever seen. We're leading China by a lot in AI. And we're also bringing auto plants in from Canada and from Mexico. They took them and they're all coming back. They're all coming back because of tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, I mean, they like the fact that we won the election by a landslide on November 5th. That helped. But they're all coming back, and they're coming back from Germany and Japan. Toyota just announced, as you know, $10 billion worth of new plants. They just announced it last week I went to various countries, and Japan was one of them. And Toyota's coming in with a $10 billion investment in 4 or 5 plants. Now, we're going to be more advanced than we were. So we led the car industry like 100% 50 years ago. We led the chip industry 30, 40 years ago. We had 100%. Then people came in and started taking it. I don't blame them, Taiwan, et cetera. They took 100% because we had no president that protected our industry. If we would have said, it's wonderful that you're going to Taiwan, we think it's great, but when you sell your product back into this country, there will be a 250% tariff. Nobody would have left. Nobody would have left. And Intel would have been a giant. Intel would have been, where's Jensen? Intel would have blown, well, he now owns a big chunk of Intel. He's got it figured all different ways. Where are you, Jensen? Stand up. You have done such a good job. And you had a good 2 days, I understand, right? A good 2 days. How's Blackwell doing, okay? Any recent competitors? Anybody going to blow Blackwell away in the next week? They say 10 years. I don't know, maybe 2 years, 3 years. But you will not be stopping there. You'll be going further fast, right? Amazing job you've done. I want to thank Howard Lutnick and Christy Noam for being here. Christy, Howard, good job. Really good job. My daughter Tiffany's here with her great husband, Michael. Thank you very much, Tiffany. Thank you, honey. She was a great student. She went to Georgetown. She was a great, great student, and she finished really right at the top, and we were proud of you. And she was so proud, and her Graduation got canceled because of COVID. But I say if her name were something else, they probably wouldn't have canceled it. They didn't like that she did so well in school. They weren't happy about it. I say they canceled your graduation because you were a great student and they didn't want, but other than that, I have no problems. You see, I don't take anything personally. Anyway, great job. And of course, hundreds of the top minds in technology, finance, and private enterprise from both Saudi Arabia and the United States. But my message to all of the leaders and investors with us today, and they are the best in the world, is very simple. Under the Trump administration, America is back and America is open for business. And America is actually stronger than it's ever been before, ever. We rebuilt the military in my first term. Foolishly, we gave a little bit to Afghanistan, but not very much compared to what we built. But now we're building it at levels that we've never done before. And in addition to that, we're sending a lot out to our allies and we're making it possible for them to get it. I want those companies to build more plants, to build it faster. We want them to build it faster. The biggest problem we have is we have a backlog because it's so good. Every country wants our missiles, our jets. They want everything we have, and we got to go faster. We just have a new plane, the F-47. It won a very strong competition. It's the newest, and that was won by Boeing. Boeing is doing, by the way, Boeing is doing an amazing job of coming back. Kelly is doing a great job. They're really moving, and it's really great to see. But they won the competition for the jet fighter, and they say it reaches levels that has never been reached, both in terms of stealth and speed and everything else that they go by. So they're just completing their factory, and they've already started work on the F-47. How did that number get chosen? I don't know, but I didn't pick it. I did not pick it. It was said, sir, we'd like to present you with the F-47. I said, that's an unusual number. How did you pick that number? After 4 years of economic nightmares under the previous regime, Sleepy Joe Biden, he's a sleepy guy, wasn't he? Think he would have been here today? I don't think so. Americans have rejected the failed, and they were really failed, far left models that you were looking at of high taxes and massive spending, soaring costs, crushing regulations, and trillions of dollars in green new scams. Everything was a new scam, green, green, green. Look, I'm all for the environmental, everything. I'm all for climate change. You know, they have new word, climate change. It used to be global warming. It's global warming. Well, that didn't work because it started coming down. They did the global cooling thing. Then they just said, we can't keep up with this. It's too much. So we'll go, perfect words, climate change. They're covered. If it rains, if it snows, if it's warm, it's climate change is destroying the world. Remember, the world was supposed to have been gone 2 years ago. They gave us 12 years, Howard, to live, right? 12 years. But that was 14 years ago. The world was going to burn up, but it got actually much cooler. They know these people. It's a little conspiracy out there. We have to investigate them immediately. They probably are being investigated. Their policies punished success, rewarded failure, and produced disaster, including the worst inflation in our country's history. We had the worst inflation in history, and now we have a beautiful normal inflation. It's going to come down over the next few months a little bit more, but we have a nice normal inflation. We had the highest inflation in the history of our country. 9 months ago, our country was dead. But now America is the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country. I don't care what country you're with. America is the hottest country considered. And we did this in a period of 9 months. We're a little longer than that, but it took me about 2 weeks to get started. We're rewarding those who build and create, invent, and invest in the USA. And you know, our big, I call it the great, big, beautiful bill. It's the biggest bill ever passed in the history of Congress. And Scott and I and all of us, we sat down and we said, let's do it, along with the Speaker and John Thune and everybody, said, let's do it all in one bill. And a lot of people were they said, you'll never get it approved. And we didn't have a huge majority. We had a huge presidential win We won everything. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by millions. We won everything. But the one thing, we won one, it's called districts. The country has districts. And we won in terms of districts 2,750 to 550. And that's the most, that's why when you see the map of the election, it's the whole country, it's all red. And it's pretty amazing. 2 little blue streaks on the right and on the left. And they're very little and getting smaller. But it's been, it's been pretty amazing. But in 4 long years, Joe Biden secured less than $1 trillion. In 9 short months, I've secured $18 trillion to rebuild our factories, create hundreds of thousands of jobs, and bring back those beautiful words, made in America. So think of that. He did less than $1 trillion in 4 years. And in 9 months, we've done more than $18 trillion, okay? That's called success. And we think that by the end of the first year, it'll be over $20 trillion. So, and thank you very much. You helped with that little boost you gave us, that little increase. We appreciate it so much. We appreciate you. So it's just one example. Under the deals being signed this week, workers at GE Aerospace, I think he's here. Where is he? Stand up. What a job you've done with your new engines. And where are you? You're there. It's not a very good location for you. I thought you have been amazing. Great new engine that's supposed to be more efficient, more powerful, and less costly. That's not a bad combination. But GE Aerospace will soon be delivering dozens of new airplane engines for 787 Dreamliners in Saudi Arabia's commercial fleet. Big order. It was a big order just secured. Every new job and every new factory created by these announcements builds up our middle class and really strengthens the industrial backbone of America. And, I view it differently. I used to view it as it's great, great, great. The stock goes up. I view it, everything is jobs now because I don't care. I care about jobs. And we have more jobs. It was just announced. We have more jobs right now than we've ever had in the history of our country. Those are big numbers. It's like crazy. It's just a great stat. More jobs today than we've ever had in the history of our country. And we're going to be producing a lot more are coming. In my first term, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world, and now we're do it again. But this is really bigger and better and stronger. The first term, we had what was considered the best economy that any president has ever had. That's nice. And we got hit with COVID, remember? And we did a great job with COVID, but that was a horrible thing for the whole world. The whole world suffered. Your country suffered. Everybody suffered. And despite that, we had the greatest economy. And before that, forget it. We blew it off the charts. I'll never forget, I met with pollsters the day before I got the news about COVID, but I met with 2 pollsters because we were starting to think about the next election. They said, sir, if George Washington and Abraham Lincoln came back from the dead and they aligned and they went for the president, vice president as a combination, you'd be beating them by 25 points. And then the next day I was told that something strange is happening. There's a lot of death being reported in a certain country. I won't tell you which one because that country is well represented here, but you know which one. And thousands and thousands of people are dying. And I said, that's strange. What would that be? And it turned out to be a disaster for the world. There's, nothing has been seen like that since 1917. I always thought that when I heard, pandemic or anything you want to call it, but I always thought that was like an ancient phenomena, that could never happen in modern times, but it did. But we did a great job with all of the things that we did with the vaccines, with so many of the drugs that we came up with, making you better. Regeneron, as an example. Regeneron was fantastic. I give them great credit for what they did. But we did great, and then we started doing the gowns and the masks and the goggles and the ventilators. We were sending ventilators all over the world. We became the king of ventilators. But what a period of time that was for all of us. But despite that, we had the greatest economy in the history of our we had the greatest economy in the history of the world. And I'll tell you, it was an amazing time. But this looks like it's going to be blowing it away, because when these plants, which are being built now, and many are going to be started very shortly, many, but when they open, we're going to see numbers the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And, you know, in some cases, you're building extremely complex plants. You're building plants to make computers and to make telephones, to make a lot of different things, missiles. But you're building plants that make things that are very, very detailed, and you have to have great knowledge. And you're coming here and you find, if we don't have people that did that before, we are allowing you, and I may take a little heat. I always take a little heat from my people, the people that love me and the people that I love. They happen to be toward the right of center, toward the right. Sometimes they're way right. But if you have to bring people to get those plants opened, we want you to do that. And we want those people to teach our people how to make computer chips and how to make other things. You can't come in, and I'm explaining, you can't come in, open up a massive computer chip factory for billions and billions of dollars like is being done in Arizona, and think you're going to hire people off an unemployment line to run it. They're going to have to bring thousands of people with them, and I'm going to welcome those people. Now, I love my conservative friends. I love MAGA, but this is MAGA. And those people are going to teach our people how to make computer chips. And in a short period of time, our people are going to be doing great. And those people can go home where they probably always want to be. You know, when people are born someplace, they tend to want to go, and we have the greatest country in the world, but they want to go. But they're going to do. We had one case in Georgia where a battery factory, batteries are very dangerous to make. They're complex, much more complex than people understand. And they spent $1 billion to build a factory. And they were told to get out. And I said, stop it. Don't be stupid. And we worked it out. And now they're teaching our people how to do it. But they're going to have to spend, Jensen, I don't think you can open up a big plant with your friend from Taiwan where we're going to have 40 or 50% of the computer chip business I don't think you can do that with people that don't even know what a chip looks like. Do you agree with that? So somehow, you know, the people that are against this are really, really smart. They're unbelievable patriots, but they just don't understand. Our people have to be taught. This is something they've never done. And we're not going to be successful if we don't allow people that invest billions of dollars in plant and equipment to bring a lot of their people from their country to get that plant open, operating, and working. I'm sorry. So my poll numbers just went down, but with smart people, they've gone way up. They've gone way up. And I mean that. So for those of you that are doing the plans, you're going to have all the help you need, and you're going to do a great job. And you're going to teach our people how to do it, and our people are going to be just as good as your people ever were in not such a long period of time. Since the election, the stock market has set, and this is a little more than 9 months, 46 all-time record highs. And the growth is now amazing, and it's lifting up the Americans and American economy like nobody's ever seen before. It's the biggest. There's never been a period of time like this. Wages for hourly workers are rising at the fastest pace in 60 years, and real wages for construction workers are up $2,200 a year, and that's good, and that's spending. They're going to spend. They're going to buy many of the things that you're making. In 9 months, we've lifted over 600,000 Americans off food stamps, and that's happening rapidly. You know, when we had the problem 2 weeks ago on the SNAP, and they talked about all of this, the numbers. So when I left, which was a rigged election, by the way, but that's okay. You know, they used to go crazy. I'd say rigged, nobody complains anymore because now they realize it was, and it's been proven, and it continues to be proven. But when I left, that number was $7 billion. Now it's $47 billion. That's Biden. So if you think about it, if Kamala, who's the same basic thing, grossly incompetent, he was incompetent, they're all incompetent because their policies are incompetent. Open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody. I mean, they got the worst policy. I don't talk about it too much because if I talk about it, they might change. So, no, I don't talk about it. I tell people, don't talk about it. Wait till 2 weeks before the election and hit the hell out of them. Right? We talked about that, right, Elon? Said we wait 2 weeks before. It's almost like you're in a war. Don't shoot yet. Don't shoot. Hold your fire. The enemy's rushing. Hold your fire. Don't shoot. Okay, now you can go. 2 weeks before. But I watched a guy the other day, a congressman, fighting for men playing in women's sports. And the new weightlifting record for a certain weight was just set. The man was 119 pounds higher than a woman champion who was a phenomenal champion. Beat her by 119, and he was an average lifter prior to transitioning. A lot of the Saudis are sitting here saying, what the hell is he talking about transition? They don't do, Yasser, they don't do a lot of transitioning. They're sitting here, the Saudis are saying, what is he talking about? They're saying, what do you mean women are playing against men? No, that doesn't happen, does it? Yeah, it does. These people are crazy. 1.9 million more American-born workers are employed today. Think of that, than when I took office. So we picked up almost 2 million workers, and more Americans are now working, as I said, than at any time in the history of our country. Under Biden, 1 out of every 4 new jobs went to increase the size of the federal government. So in other words, 1 out of 4 was a federal worker. Well, I love our federal workers, but that's not the way you can build a country. It's a short road to a disaster. Under my administration, 100%, think of that, of all new jobs created came out of the private sector. In fact, the federal government, we cut thousands and hundreds of thousands of jobs out of the federal government. Now, if I wanted to do something for purely political reasons, I'd say, Susie, let's hire a couple of million federal workers. And you know what happened? Unemployment is unbelievable. We don't do that. They did that. They used to hire workers in order to fudge up the numbers. The federal workers. By the way, Susie Wiles, most powerful woman anywhere in the world by the biggest, most important magazine. Susie Wiles, she had a father, Pat Summerall, the great announcer, football. He was a great football player, became an even greater, the voice of the NFL, and he was supposed to be a tough cookie, and I believe it 100%. Most powerful woman in the world. She can take out a country, take out a country with 1 phone call. That's power. I don't know if I could do that, but she could. Thank you, Susie. Do you feel good about the job you're doing? Huh? She's never going to be satisfied. She's doing a great job. We're also making incredible strides to make America affordable again. That's a new word that they're using. Affordability, they talk. They had the worst inflation in history. They had the highest prices in history. The country was going to hell. The only thing that we're going up in is our stock market, okay? The only price that we really have, I mean, we're bringing prices down, but they came up with a new word, affordability. And they look at we are all about affordability. And everyone assumes that that meant that, no, their prices were high. If you look at the numbers, since I took office, core inflation is now below 2.7%. It was at numbers that nobody had ever seen before with them. Walmart just announced that the cost of their standard Thanksgiving meal is reduced by 25% this year from last year. So they look, the Democrats, I don't know, some of you are probably liberal Democrats. I don't know about in your country. I don't know if you know that word, liberal. The word liberal doesn't exist. But they have a new word now. You can't use liberal. You have to use the word progressive. And I don't like using it. It's a beautiful word, progressive. Progressive, that's not them. They're regressive. No, they're regressive. Think of it. So if I don't get in, we have $20 trillion. Let's say she gets in. Instead of $20 trillion, you'd lose $10 trillion, and your welfare and other benefits would go up by 30%. Look at SNAP. Look at what happened there. From 7 million to 47. From 7 billion to 47 billion. it would be that. So we would lose business, countries and companies and people would flee our country. They would flee, and all of the other things would go up. In other words, would end up with a shell of a country, and I'm being nice when I use the word shell. This country would have been in big trouble, and I don't want to get him in trouble, but that gentleman right there, the most respected man in the room, that's today because we're here. Most respected man, I have to say that. Don't worry, when I'm with other countries and the leaders sitting there, I say the same about them. Don't worry. Don't get carried away. No, the most respected, one of the great leaders, he told me when I was in his country, he said, and I use it all the time. Sometimes I refer to him because I have great respect for him. I figure it sells better. But he said exactly these words. He said, it's amazing what you've done. 1 year ago, your country was dead. And now you've got the hottest country in the world. You were the first one that said that. And I've used your name hundreds of times. I use your name, I say that King of Saudi Arabia said. But anyway, but it's true. We were a country that was in really bad trouble. We were a country that would have been dead, I believe, within a year or 2 years after the election. We were headed in a very bad direction. And now we're headed in the best direction I think that we've ever been headed. According to the USDA, Turkey is down, think of that, 33%. And I'm not talking about the country of Turkey. He's doing fine. Erdogan is doing good. Just want to, I don't want him calling me. I'm not down 33%. He's a friend of ours. We got to take care of our friends. Since March, egg prices are down 86%. Think of 86%. Many other prices are down in a similar number. When I first came into office, my first 3 days, I had a news conference, and they started screaming at me. Those people, that's a lot of people back there. Look at all the fake news. They started screaming at me, eggs, eggs. I didn't know anything about it. I said, what's going on with eggs? They're up quadruple. I said, I've only been here for 3 days, and we'll work on it. And we got them down very substantially. They said, don't buy eggs for Easter. At the White House, we have an Easter egg hunt. We buy thousands of eggs. The people come from all over, thousands. They asked me, sir, would it be possible this year to buy plastic eggs? I said, I'm not buying plastic eggs. The kids are going to pick up an egg. They're going to, what the hell kind of an egg is this? And we bought maximum number of regular eggs, and we got the prices. Brooke Rollins did a great job, Department of Agriculture. She did a fantastic job. And eggs are way down now. Mortgage rates are down despite the Fed. Scott, you got to work on this guy. He's got some real mental problems. No, there's something wrong with him. It's just sweet. I'll be honest. I'd love to fire his ass. He should be fired. Guy's grossly incompetent. And he should be sued for spending $4 billion to build a little building. I'm building a ballroom that's going to cost a tiny fraction of that, and it's bigger than the whole thing put together. You got to work on him, Scott. The only thing Scott's blowing it on is the Fed. Because the Fed, the rates are too high, Scott. And if you don't get it fixed fast, I'm going to fire your ass, okay? I can't tell you, Scott, sir, don't fire him. Sir, please don't fire him. He's got 3 months to go. Don't fire him. I want to get him out, Scott. Please. He's the voice of reason. You're very lucky you have him, I'll tell you that. You've done a good job. I think Howard's a little bit more for firing him. Right, Howard? I think Howard would say, get him the hell out of there. Anyway, well, congressional Democrats wanted the largest tax hike in history. They wanted to raise your taxes by 42% of you, 44%. I proudly gave you the largest tax cuts in American history. Don't forget, the great big beautiful bill doesn't kick in until January 1st. So all these numbers that you're reading about, all these great numbers, that's without the tax cuts. The tax cuts take effect on January 1st, and that's no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Even people that go buy a car, they've never had this. Middle-income people don't know what the word deduction is. They don't know. This room, they live on deductions. Me too. How much of a deduction do I get? We all live on it. Middle income people, they don't know about that. They don't really have deductions. We're giving them a deduction on the interest if they buy a nice Tesla car and they borrow the money. You're so lucky I'm with you, Elon. I'll tell you, has he ever thanked me properly? Although I do let him buy other than electric cars, but these are minor details. You know, we had a mandate, which even Elon thought was ridiculous, that everybody has to have an electric car by 2030. And once, fortunately, he said, that's a ridiculous thing. So I keep quoting, but I'm giving them a deduction. Now, Elon would like to have it differently. A deduction only if you buy a Tesla, right? But we'll let it be for everybody. But think of it. You get a deduction on the loan, on your interest payment. I think that's going to be an unbelievable boon to car sales. I think it's one of the biggest things, and we'll see, but I think it's going to be. And the biggest thing I've done for business and jobs is deductibility, where all of that money that you're spending, 100%, think of it, expensing for all new equipment purchase, factory construction, including structure. Every single thing you're allowed to deduct expensing 1 year. And that's what made our first tax bill, in my opinion, more than anything else, bringing your money back in. We have that, we have everything. Trillions of dollars, hundreds of billions, but trillions of dollars. Apple alone, Tim Cook brought in hundreds of billions of dollars. You couldn't do it under the old tax code. You'd have to pay so much tax, and just the bureaucracy of it. We made it very simple. We charged a fair rate, and we took in billions. Well, we have that. But the expensing, to me, was the thing that made it so successful. And the other thing is all of those tax cuts that we got, that was the largest tax cut in history. On top of adding to those cuts, we extended the original tax cuts. If we didn't extend, you would have had about a 58% tax increase from that point. And we were able to get that extended. So I want to thank the Speaker of the House, and I want to thank John Thune. And a lot of people thought that bill, because we put everything into that one, we took 4 years worth of things and we put them into the great, big, beautiful bill. And we got it passed. It was close, like about a quarter of a vote. It was on fumes. We thought for a couple of moments we were not going to be able to get it. Then we would have had to have it in 9 or 12 or 14 different bills. And I don't think we would have gotten many of them approved. We would have gotten some easily approved, but some we would have gotten no votes on. By putting it all together, we got everything. And it was a great job. And I think someday it's going to be appreciated. But among other things, it's the biggest tax cut in history for people and for businesses. So just enjoy it and think of me every once in a while when you're hiring new people and making a lot of money. You just think about us. But I'm cutting a record number of job-killing regulations. That's the other thing. And I've already slashed more than $1 trillion worth of regulations this year. My last term, I gave the largest regulation cut in history, and now we're doing it again. In fact, for every new regulation, they're mandated to cut 10. And so far, it's for every new regulation, they've cut 30. So they have the idea. And very importantly, we stopped Joe Biden's radical crusade to kill oil and natural gas. Somehow, I don't think Saudi Arabia would like me too much if we decide to kill oil and natural gas. There's nothing like it. It works. Windmills don't work. Other things, I don't want to get into it too much, but they don't work. What does work is natural gas, oil, nuclear, and other things. But the windmills are a disaster. I am the biggest negative person on windmills. They ruin your locations. They ruin. When I look at some of these countrysides that are littered with windmills, and every time it goes around, you lose money. The country loses money. It's a disaster. And I just hope that some of these countries that are losing their ass, we have countries that are going bankrupt because they're putting windmills all over the place. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money with energy. And we talk about oil, and we talk even clean, beautiful coal. I said, you're not allowed to mention the word coal unless you precede it by saying clean, beautiful. So I have my people in the office, they're talking about coal, right? And they're going, sir, a clean, beautiful coal is doing very well, sir. And then 2 minutes later, clean, beautiful coal. Then he mentions the third time, sir, coal. No, it's clean and beautiful because it needs the public relations help. Coal needs a little help, public relations wise. So we refer to it as clean, beautiful coal, and it does have its place, that I can tell you. But we're streamlining permitting for all new energy projects, all new mining projects, and what used to take 28 days is now down to very little. But we had times when, not 28 days, we had times when things would take 14, 15, 16, and even 20 years to get approved. We have a maximum day, 28 days. That's the maximum it'll take. It'll never take more. You can come in with $1 trillion factory. You can come in with what it takes, a maximum of. You don't have to go years and years and years, be abused by bureaucracy. If you build a plant now, you're going to have your plant done within 28 days. And a lot of you are all, because I see everyone shaking their head, you're all agreeing. We're getting you approved by very smart people quickly. You know, when you used to walk in with plans done by the best engineers in the world, thousands of pages, and drop them on some guy who's been there for 28 years approving environmental impact statements, and he's looking at pages that he's never seen, and he's supposed to approve it. He has no idea what the hell is in those pages. So we know what we're doing. We're going to get maximum is 28 days. That's why we have so much under construction, and people can't believe it. They can't believe it. And again, remember what I said, most important thing, you're building your own electric plant. You're really becoming a utility in addition to doing what you're doing. But you're building all of the excess, all of that energy, all of that electricity is being built. And your excess electricity, you can sell back to the federal grid. So we even make it there. Under the deals being signed this week, the world's two leading energy superpowers, America and Saudi Arabia, are partnering on energy like we've never partnered before. American Saudi companies represented here today are joining on liquefied natural gas, infrastructure, constructions, and making both of our energy sections. I mean, our sectors are becoming so strong. Just a quick story. In Louisiana, when I first time I got there were two massive LNG plants. One was under review for 14 years and was being rejected. The other one was for 18 years. The people in Louisiana, Doug, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And one was $20 billion, one was $24 billion, like the biggest things, like 3 Empire State Buildings lying on its side. It was massive. And I said, whatever happened with those plants? Well, sir, they're under review. How long has it been? 14 years and 17 years. And they had given up. Massive investments were being made by other countries and the richest people. They couldn't get them approved. I got myself involved. Right, Doug? The first one, I got approved in 1 day. The second one, I got a little cocky. I took my time. It took me 1 week. And they're both operating today, and they're tremendously successful. I got one, think of it. After 14 years, I was in office. I got involved. I got it done in 1 day. And it's been a tremendous success and made a lot of money for our country and for a lot of other people. And the other one took 1 week to get done. That one was under review, I think, for 14 or 15 years, both of them. So I'm very proud of that, actually. I also proudly ended the ridiculous Biden-era restrictions on artificial intelligence, and we will work closely with friends and partners like those in this room to build the largest, most powerful, most innovative AI ecosystem in the world. And we are going to work it so that you'll have a one approval process, not have to go through 50 states in the United States. You know, you can't go through 50 states. You have to get one approval. 50 states is a disaster because you have one woke state and you have to do all woke. You'll be back into the woke business. We don't have woke anymore in this country. It's virtually illegal. But you'll have a couple of wokesters, and we don't want to do that. We want to get the AI done, and I'm working with David. David's done a fantastic job. if he's here. I think he is. He is. Thank you. David's done a fantastic job. But we want one approval, one, and hopefully you have the right guy in the federal government. Hopefully you have the right president, but you have one approval, one approving body, not 50, not, hundreds of people all over the country looking at what you're doing. And basically you're forced to take the worst and the most onerous, right, Jensen? Are you happy with that, Jensen? Thank you. If Jensen's happy, I'm happy. But what's very important, we have to do that. And we have a couple of very good, very well-meaning senators that think every state should have a right to approve. We're not going to do that because that will not allow you to do what we have to do. And we'll get that straightened out. Together, the United States and Saudi Arabia are unleashing really the most incredible new prosperity together. And we're also making history and forging peace. And I've settled 8 raging conflicts, 8 wars. I've settled 8 wars. I have 1 to go. You know what that one is. I thought that was going to be my easy one because I have a good relationship with President Putin, but I'm a little disappointed in President Putin right now. He knows that. I thought that was going to be the easy one. I settled 1 war, 36 years. I got it done in 1 day. I had another one, 32 years, millions of people killed. Even Congo and the Rwanda, they had 10 million people killed. It was out of control. I got that settled. I have a man's father who happens to be in this room doing a great job, right? Got that settled. I settled 8 wars. And I'll tell you, His Majesty would like me to do something very powerful having to do with Sudan. It was not on my my charts to be involved in that. I thought it was just something that was crazy and out of control. But I just see how important that is to you and to a lot of your friends in the room. Sudan, and we're going to start working in Sudan. I didn't think that that was one that was going to be so easy to do, but we're going to start working. Mohammed said, yeah, thank you. Thank you to you. No, it wasn't on my charts because I'm good at settling disputes, and I've always been. I've done very well with that over the years, even before this. But I was talking about the different wars, and it's look, India, Pakistan, they were going to go at it, nuclear weapons. I said that's okay, you can go at it, but I'm putting a 350% tariff on each country. No more trade with the United States. No, you can't do that. I said I'm going to do it. Come back to me and I'll take it down. But I'm not going to have you guys shooting nuclear weapons at each other, killing millions of people, and having the nuclear dust floating over Los Angeles. I'm not going to do it. They said, we don't like that. I said, I don't care if you like it or not. So I was all set. I told Scott, 350% tariff to settle that war. If you don't, we'll make a nice trade deal. They were in the midst of a deal. Now, no other president would have done that. Another guy would have, like Joe Biden, doesn't even know what countries we're talking about. He wouldn't have any idea. There'd be no tariffs, no nothing. Just the whole world would go to hell. But no, I used tariffs to settle all these wars. Not all of them. 5 of the 8 were settled because of the economy, because of trade, because of tariffs. So I did this. But, and then I'll tell you what, the Prime Minister of Pakistan called me. Thank you very much. He actually said, I saved millions, and he said it in front of Susie. He said, President Trump saved millions and millions of lives. He doesn't even know that, but he saved millions of lives, and he talks about it. And I got a call from Prime Minister Modi saying, we're done. I said, you're done with what? We're not going to go to war. I said, thank you very much. Let's make a deal. But I saved a lot of people, millions of people on many other wars. Azerbaijan, you know what was happening there? I settled that. That was going on for many, many years. Actually, Putin called me. He said, I can't believe you got that one settled. We've been trying to settle that one for a long time. I said, don't worry about that. Just let me settle your frickin' war, okay? You don't have to help me. I don't need any help. I need help with your war. And it'll get done. But working with the Crown Prince was amazing because he mentioned Sudan yesterday. And he said, sir, you're talking about a lot of wars, but there's a place on earth called Sudan. And it's horrible what's happening. And I viewed it as being just sort of a freelance, no government, no this, no that. And he explained the whole culture and the whole history. And it was very interesting to hear. Really amazing, actually, to hear. And, we've already started working on that, okay? He said that would be the greatest thing you can do. That would be greater than what you've already done. That was your expression. Is that a correct expression? Pretty good. So we're working on that. We started about 30 minutes after you explained to us the great importance of that. I view it differently now than I did just a day ago. But we also, as you know, we had a historic ceasefire. We ended the war in Gaza. And 2 days ago, incredibly, the United Nations Security Council backed the Trump peace plan. And we have a great peace plan. We have peace in the Middle East. This is a strong peace, too. They say, oh, it's tentative. It's not. This is a very strong peace. We have 59 countries signed on. And when there's problems, I'm getting calls from countries. They want to go in and lead the fight to solve the problem if we have any problems. But right now, it's looking very good and they endorsed the United Nations, what's called the Board of Peace, chaired by a person called Donald J. Trump. I accepted the chairmanship. They asked me to be chairman. That's what I needed. It's just a little more work, but it's a great honor. That'll be the greatest board ever assembled. Where do you see this board? This board will blow every board away. And I believe we're going to be lucky enough to have the Crown Prince be a very distinguished member of the board. But we're going to have the heads of the Board of Peace. And I think it will go long beyond Gaza and the Middle East. I can see that going long beyond. There'll never be anything like this in terms of, I know you all have wonderful boards, but this is going to blow it away. It's going to blow them all away. And it's going to do some really good. So in the coming months, the Crown Prince and I are going to ensure that the ceasefire and everything else that's going on that's so positive in the Middle East, hard to believe. I mean, I've grown up, peace in the Middle East. I used to have peace in the Middle East, but never happened. We have peace in the Middle East. It's an amazing thing. Nobody thought, 3,000 years they talked. Nobody thought it would happen. In just 9 months, our administration has achieved more than most other administrations achieve in 8 years. And we're leading again in just every country. We want to win. We want to win for you. We want to win for ourselves. We want to help our allies. We want to change our enemies. We want to change our enemies. I'm being nice when I say it that way, but we want to change them. And if they don't change, we're going to be nasty. But hopefully we're not going to have to be nasty. But we want the world to prosper. We want the world to be safe. Our alliances are flourishing like they haven't before. And, you know, they're respecting America again. They didn't respect us. We were like a bunch of stupid people. We had a president that couldn't get up and talk, couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. We had people that didn't know what the hell they were doing. We were an embarrassment all over the world. But now we have people that are respected at levels that we've never seen before. So I just want to tell you that this is a group that I respect. I read every single name of every single person sitting in each and every seat. And I either know you or I know of you. This is an amazing group of people. And it really is headed by that gentleman sitting right smack center with 2 seats in between him. He wants plenty of room. And he's going to be the king of Saudi Arabia right now. He's the most distinguished gentleman. He's my friend. And thank you very much for what you've done for us. And we will always be with you. Thank you, Mohammed. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. That was quite a speech. Nothing out of the norm, like nothing out of left field. I mean, it's pretty much in line with what I expected, mostly from what Trump said. The kind of the notes that I took, the important points. The biggest one was that it sounds like $270 billion has already been invested. And so now it's about finalizing details on other investment plans. And that's what, you saw MBS run up and jump up and run up and give him a handshake after at the end. This is something, as I understand, that MBS asked for, the U.S. Saudi investment forum. This is not the first time they've done something like this. That logo that was in the back, if you noticed, let me just pull it up. So the logo that was in the background, is the same logo, by the way, that was in the background when Trump spoke at Riyadh, because it was the same entity that, let's see, like they called it the U.S. Saudi Investment Forum as well. So it's the same entity that organized and hosted Trump in Riyadh. So, this is, I compare it to when Netanyahu came. When Netanyahu came, it was very clear the optics of what happened. Obviously, the entrance, we talked about it on Daily this morning, was very different. That Netanyahu didn't even get a color guard. Steve Bannon made a huge deal about that. Erdogan came the day before, where they signed the nuclear deal, and did get the color guard. And then Netanyahu showed up, and there was nobody out there but Trump to meet him. And Trump kind of quickly whisked him inside the White House. Obviously, MBS's arrival was very different, unlike anything, frankly, I've ever seen for somebody visiting the White House. But more importantly, the schedule of events. When Netanyahu was coming to the White House, he came because he was in town to speak at the UN. That was really the main reason he was in the United States. It wasn't to necessarily come to the White House, but while he was there, he was going to come to the White House and try to deliver on the things he had said in his UN speech. He spoke to the UN on a Friday. Erdogan came the day before on a Thursday. That was a total slight to Netanyahu. And then Netanyahu came and visited the White House the following Monday. So there was a weekend cooling off period. And we know now that, and then that was, of course, when they announced the 20-point peace plan, and they started to roll out a lot of the stuff that Trump was talking about during this speech. The point is that they used the weekend to negotiate with Netanyahu and get him on board. Point is, though, is that if Trump really wanted to elevate Netanyahu's public profile in that moment and hype up his speech, he would, and endorse it ultimately, he would have hosted Netanyahu at the White House the day before, given him the PR boost, and then Netanyahu would have ridden into the UN speech, on a high, so to speak. But instead, he did the opposite. He let Netanyahu go to the UN. Netanyahu crashed out, in my opinion, because he was frothing at the mouth, calling for war with Iran, and flippantly, defiantly, basically saying nobody's going to tell us when to stop. We're going to keep going as long as we want. Referring just to warfare in general, because they're fighting a multi-front war now at this point. And then you compare and contrast that to what we just saw, which was Trump hosts MBS, rolls out the red carpet, literally, all the bells and whistles, does the black tie dinner last night, and then that leads into this investment forum situation today. And the people that are in the room, I'm sure it's probably a combination of Saudi investors, American investors, but there are probably a fair number of people from around the world who are all interested, who are also going to be there just to listen. Because that's the thing, is the way capital investment works is that when there's momentum on something, when there's a groundswell and there's momentum, other people who have money, who like to invest their money in order to make more money, which is financial markets, they're going to jump on the momentum. They're going to ride the wave. So when they see all this capital flowing in one direction, they're going to jump in and they're going to throw their money on top. It's like somebody with a hot hand at a craps table. The other gamblers, like when you're betting on craps, you're betting on one person rolling the dice over and over and over and over again. And when somebody gets hot and they just start throwing the dice and winning, other gamblers gather around the table and start throwing their money down because they're like, this guy's hot. And, there's a lot of like superstition and stuff with all that. But that's a similar dynamic. Like, it's not just the Saudis investing in America. Their momentum, they're going to suck a lot of other capital. A lot of other capital is going to follow their money. And we're trying to ride the coattails. That was, I think, the point of a lot of this, was to build momentum coming into this meeting, because now there's going to be just tons of deals, I think, that are going to be announced. And so Trump, the other big note that I made was the data centers. Trump talked about, and this is really important, this is significant, going to a 2-week timetable to get a permit approved. That's huge. I mean, it used to be back in the day when I was in construction, for a residential permit, it better be 2 weeks. But commercial permits, you could also get done in 2 weeks, like back in the day, 10 years ago. And this is just in my local jurisdiction, but I understand that similar things have happened around the country and other places. Then the rural jurisdictions tend to be a little better, but in terms of like turnaround, but the urban areas, the urban governments always have been taking forever. And it's gotten to like 6 months, it's gotten to 8 months. And it's impossible to run a small business when you're waiting 8 months to get your permit approved. And then so you can finally invoice your client, send them the first invoice. It's so important to get the permitting process streamlined and get it to happen quickly, because so many projects, I will tell you, from just being involved in construction projects from pretty much every seat of the table at this point, from a subcontractor to a designer to from the GC, even working for developers in some cases, it always falls apart during the permitting process. That's when things fall apart, because the money can work, the financing can work, the idea can work, but the design can get approved in concept. But if the permitting process drags on for too long, it kills the momentum of the project, and then the investor loses interest, or the numbers change. The subcontractors come back and say, all right, it's been 6 months. I can't lock in that price. I can't guarantee my price anymore. We're going to have to reprice now. It's like, now we have a permit in hand. Finally, like a year later. And all the subs are like, well, that price I gave you a year ago is absolutely out the window. We're going to have to reprice now. And then all of a sudden, costs have gone up 20%, and the project is 20% more expensive. It goes from being a $50 million facility to being a $60 million facility, and the project's dead, right? Because nobody else is interested, because the bank backs out, or the investors back out, or whatever. It's just that's what a permitting issue can do to any construction project. And that's before you get the politics involved and all that other stuff. That's just the business of the cost of doing business and construction and development. So streamlining that to 2 weeks is such a big deal. He says 3 weeks for the nuclear, like if they're doing a nuclear situation. And what he was referring to with that was, he was talking about, not only streamlining the data centers, but as an example, but also streamlining energy, because he was saying, figure out your own energy. Like, instead of tapping into these old grids that can't handle the power demand, he was saying, develop your own contained energy system for the data center. I see people in the chat were saying that there are concerns across the country in their area of data centers popping up and them destroying the energy grid. This is the alternative. And trust me, the data centers, they don't want to plug into a grid that is not reliable. They don't want to plug into a grid where the grid's going to go down, and all of a sudden they have to resort to backup, like a backup generator, because if the backup generator goes down and the data center goes offline, that could literally cost them their business. So, the idea that you're going to create this opportunity for these data centers to generate their own energy and have their own contained energy generation system, that's going to drive innovation. That's going to drive new ideas. I mean, Trump was saying they're coming up with new ideas. General Quast said to all of us at GART 2 years ago that you were going to start seeing like micro nuclear reactors popping up. that they're already capable of building them. This is not something that you have to like, reinvent the wheel for. So I think we're starting to see that. We're starting to see it roll out, and it's exciting. A lot of these data centers, as G Money's pointed out, are actually crypto mining facilities for like Bitcoin mining. So I think that's also part of it. It's not just data storage, but it's crypto, it's AI, it's eventually it'll probably be the quantum stuff because they need giant facilities to store those computers in. That's all very, very exciting. Now, the technology part is only part of it because you have to build the stuff, and that is construction, that's logistics, that's design, that's materials. I mean, it's manufacturing. There's so many elements that spin out from that. There's so many like industries and sectors that are going to be involved in this stuff before you even get to the end user, which is a data center or a crypto mining center or a manufacturing plant or an office building or whatever it is. And then once those businesses are up and running, and even long before the facility is up and running, you're going to have the actual business itself, which is going to require office space. It's going to require services. It's going to require, I mean, there's a whole economy that just grows out of the construction process. And then there's, of course, the economy itself of like the businesses that you're starting and then all the things that they need to service them. So that's how all of this is going to come together, and it's starting to come together, but we're at the very, very start of it. We're at the step one. I mean, Trump approved a few of these chip manufacturing centers in his first term, and they're under construction in Arizona and Texas. He also mentioned the H-1B, but like they're saying that I think the plan was when he approved them in the first term, they'd be up and operating by 2025, 2026, something like that. I saw in the chat, just talking to y'all in the chat about the chip manufacturing centers. Like it's going to take time to build these energy generation facilities. It's also going to take time to build the project itself. I think the timeline that I've seen for a typical chip manufacturing center, which are, I mean, these things are massive and they're underground and it's very, very advanced stuff. But they're saying from the announcement of the project, the public announcement, 3 to 5 years before they're making their first chip. And then for data centers, it's probably half that maybe. So, it's several years from announcing the project to actually having it up and running. And that gives you the time to figure all the other stuff out, to figure out the energy production, to figure out the H-1B1 thing, because he brought up the H-1B1 thing. He made it very clear. He said, the investors need to have confidence that if they need these people and the American workforce is unable to provide that skill set for some niche, then you can bring in the H-1B1 thing. That is, my guess is that we're probably going to see that actually happen a lot less than what's being suggested right now. Because remember, Trump already put a measure in place that for every H-1B1 visa they issue now, it's $100,000 fee for the company utilizing it. So you're tacking on $100K to every single H-1B employee that you're bringing on board. You then have to shell out $100K to the government as a fee. That makes the economics of it not very attractive. If you can go hire someone American who's going to do the same job or maybe even a better job, and you're going to save that you're going to save the fee, you're going to save the application process, you're going to save the headache of having to deal with it, you're going to save the fact of bringing over somebody from India who barely speaks English. Like if that ends up being the case, like there are a lot of reasons why you're just going to go with a local workforce if you can. I mean, all things equal. And then the people who are coming in who have a nefarious agenda, who actually do want to replace the American worker and have the capital and the desire and are driven enough to do it, they're going to pay a high price for it. And you know what? The marketplace will figure that out because they're going to be operating at a severe disadvantage from a margin standpoint. And small businesses, if we deregulate in the right way, if we handle deregulation in the right way, and that's the real fight that I think we have ahead of us, is to get the regulatory bodies under control. If you can deregulate the economy from what it's been, and it's been regulated for generations at this point, small businesses will take over corporate America. They will overtake corporate America because they're more nimble. They can react quicker. Most privately owned, so they don't have to answer to public boards. They don't have to do quarterly earnings calls. They don't have to deal with all of those aspects that a publicly traded corporation has to deal with. That makes it slower. That makes it unable to adapt quickly and respond. A lot of them have become beholden to the ESG stuff, the woke stuff, the DEI stuff. A lot of that's being driven by BlackRock, and many of you are familiar with that. People have been putting out the research for years now on how that actually works, where BlackRock gets control of a pension fund, and then they basically are leveraging the shares that the pension fund controls, your shares, the shares that you technically own in your retirement fund. But because you are invested in a fund, the votes that you would hold at like a shareholders meeting, you don't exercise those votes because you're not even paying attention. It's your retirement fund, right? Well, the people who are the custodians of your retirement fund, BlackRock, they are the ones who are exercising your shareholder votes for you, unless you go and check the little box and get control of your votes manually. But nobody does that. That's how BlackRock's been able to influence corporate America and put its thumb on the scale, is by buying up shares of the company and then leveraging those shares. And they're buying up shares on behalf of you because it's your pension fund they're controlling. It's not their money. They're investing a pension fund that they control, but then they're exercising the votes on your behalf. Again, the bureaucracy of corporate America will be its undoing, because a small business, I've worked for small business my whole life. It's harder because there's obviously serious advantages that the large corporations are going to have from the capital, the resources, the visibility, the clout, being able to pick up the phone and get things done when you run into political issues, things like permitting, stuff like that. But the small businesses where having to wear multiple hats. If you're like, I worked for a company for years where it was just me. It was me and the guy who had run the company by himself for 40 years. And I built him a website, and I got him SEO, like search engine optimization. But then I was managing that all about myself, and I knew very little about that stuff. So I had to educate myself and then go do it. You're wearing lots of hats while also managing projects, while also doing marketing, while also all the things, right? Small businesses, that's what you do. Corporations don't, they have an army of people who handle all those different tasks. But when it comes to adapting to the evolving conditions of a marketplace, small businesses can just make the decision and make the change tomorrow. Whereas corporations, it has to run through all the approvals, through their bureaucracy, run it by the shareholders, all the things that they are moving at a snail's pace. Small business is going to be able to eat their lunch if we let them. And so that is the fight now. And I see right now, I was just kind of browsing X as I was listening to the speech, and I haven't really gotten to track social media that much lately, because yesterday I did 4 streams yesterday. It seems like the new PSYOP is they're talking about capitalism and how capitalism has failed, and we don't live in a capitalist society. We don't live in a free market society. We live in a corporatist, pseudo-fascist, if not full-blown fascist government. That's what America has been for a long time, where the government and the private, the corporate powers have merged into one. That is corporatism. That is fascism. They're sitting there whining about the rise of fascism or whatever. We've been living under fascism, with a communist facade where they say this is all Marxism. And I mean, some of the ideas are, but it's mostly fascist. It's mostly corporatist. So the more you can diversify that marketplace, the more players you can have, even if they're large corporations, the more players you have, the more, the larger the market is, where everybody has less market share, right? More players, more volume. That's how you decentralize power, you decentralize control, because it's much harder to establish the levers of control that they have established when you have all the companies that have a small market share. It's much harder to get away with collusion, to get away with price fixing, price gouging, with owning the regulatory bodies, because there will be a revolt in the industry if one or two people try to take control of the regulatory body. But these regulatory bodies are basically created to keep players out of the marketplace, so that you only have American Airlines, Delta, Southwest, JetBlue. That's it. It's like, that's the reason that you have the regulatory environment that we have. It's to protect the players so that they don't have competition. I mean, just look at the insurance market. That's one of the best examples that there is. So I'm ranting now, and I apologize. Let's see if we have questions, and we'll get y'all out of here before 2 today. CKLR Ghost doing his best Gavin impression right now. Let me get rid of this pinned message because it's blocking my ability to unpin it. There we go. Yeah, guys, hit the thumbs up. Appreciate y'all being here. I thought that was it's a good speech. But I got way off on a tangent there. The H-1B thing, what Trump is doing is, I think he's putting confidence in the investors to come invest in America. If they need the specialists, if they need the niche people who in the American workforce isn't providing that, then they can go get it. But it sounds like it's all supposed to be temporary. It's supposed to be consultancy. That's what Besant said. The devil will be in the details. All that stuff should be made public. Make your voices heard. Continue to verify. Continue to demand accountability. Demand answers. Don't put your trust and faith that any of this is actually happening until you see the ink on the paper. Until it's all actually done. Talk is cheap. Like, let's see action. So, all right. Rants. We got one rant from Ashley D, $5. Thank you, Ghost. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate you. I want to check the Badlands boosts. That if you're listening to this on replay, you can go to badlandsmedia.tv/boost, or just click on the boost at the top in the browser area, the top header. Let's see. I think we're good. Yeah, we're caught up on our boosts. All right, guys. Well, hit the thumbs up. I'm gonna get out of here, and we're gonna tomorrow we will be doing the choice. We'll be back with the choice with Ash. That's the show we do on The Chosen. So I think we're doing episode 5 tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. The wedding reception. So looking forward to that, and we will see y'all later. Oh wait, you know what? Before we go, I do want to hit an ad. So let's get an ad in here.
Before skincare went synthetic, people used something simple, something real. Tallow. Grass-fed and finished beef tallow is packed with vitamins A, D, E, and K. Nutrients your skin actually knows what to do with. It locks in moisture, restores elasticity, and defends against winter dryness. No water, no preservatives, and no BS. Unlike plant oils or chemical creams, tallow mimics your skin's own structure. Elbows, hands, knees, post-shave, anywhere your skin's crying for real moisture. Perfect for gifting or keeping your own skin soft when the cold hits. Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code Badlands for 15% off. Ancient Care, modern truth.
Soft disclosure. All right. And then we have, let's see, I have the Badlands shop. When your favorite Badlands show wraps up without a raid, visit the Badlands website to explore our incredible sponsors, from products featured on the show to kickstarting your shopping list. The Badlands shop has you covered. Every purchase you make is a powerful vote for the future you believe in. We make it easy to shop America first, supporting Badlands creators and patriot small businesses that champion freedom. You're not just buying a product, you're fueling a movement with every dollar spent. Thank you for supporting businesses that support Badlands Media. Head over to badlandsmedia.tv and click shop from the menu, or go directly to badlandsmedia.tv/shop. Unfortunately, I read that quick enough that I was able to get our final video uploaded. So again, that's badlandsmedia.tv/shop. And then the last video, just waiting for it to process. Apologize for that. Thought we already had Goldco in here, but I think it was the old version of their ad. I got to say, it feels like I have deja vu. Gold continues to hit brand new all-time highs, and silver has surged to its highest level since 2011. In the face of economic uncertainty and overall fear in the markets, people seem to be moving to safe haven assets like gold and silver. Today, we're seeing this not only from hardworking Americans, but from central banks and billionaires too. That's exactly why we've partnered with award-winning company Goldco. They specialize in helping people protect their savings with real assets, gold and silver, and they make it incredibly simple. So go to badlandsgold.com to learn more. That's badlandsgold.com. You'll get a free 2025 gold and silver kit, and you could qualify for up to 10% in free bonus silver. Don't wait till it's too late. Visit badlandsgold.com or click on the link in the video description below. One more time, that's badlandsgold.com. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all. Hit the thumbs up, and I'm going to raid you over to the Daily Herald. We will see y'all next week.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.